animals, we crave the ability to be we. I know it's called me undies. We undies might have sounded differently, right?
Is it a disco now?
Yeah, it's an after party, so it's now we go with the flash.
My goal in life is to be a laptop sticker.
Me too.
And despite the best ministrations of your wife, you still look ugly.
It's a great honor, Mr. Jaffe. It's always nice to be with you.
I'm so happy to be with you. I'm honored.
Thanks for doing this, too. It's a real service to the community.
Thank you for doing this, Joseph, for doing CoronaTV in general. And it's your gift to the universe, and it's appreciated.
Very human, and I like that.
Look at you! You are insane!
How did I do that?
You're insane!
Hello, everybody. CoronaTV is back after taking a one-day break. As I said before, sue me. I gave up on you for just 24 hours of my life, but I am back. I feel like I've forgotten everything already. It's weird. You know, when you have routine in your life, you're so used to things a certain way. You're used to things working in a certain way. It's like TSA, right? It's like when we go on a business trip and suddenly, you know, when we're doing it every day or every week, it's rote, it's robotic. It just feels like a routine, and you don't even think about it. And then suddenly you take a break maybe for a week, and the next thing you know, you show up to your hotel room and you have no underwear. It's happened. It does happen. Everything is out of whack. Thank you, Bob. I missed you too. But it is good to be back. And then, well, obviously it's Friday. It's a weird time. It's a weird day. It's July 3rd. Fireworks, not fireworks, mosques optional. You know, July 4th is going to be a very different July 4th this year for those of you that are in the United States. But that certainly doesn't mean that we don't celebrate and should not celebrate, or shouldn't, doesn't mean we shouldn't celebrate everything that July 4th stands for. So anyway, back in business, and today, Wendi Cooper, not Nick Johnson, Wendi stepped in and saved me, my heroine, for jumping in at last minute. Well, you know, she was going to come on the show, but I said, hey, listen, you're looking for a date? You don't need to worry about, you know, wait until the end of July. Just come on board now, Wendi. And so Wendi will be my guest today. Next week's interviews, finally, I broke my streak of white men, which is not to say that white men are not amazing. They are, but so are every other type of race, color, creed, gender, ethnicity, religion. We are just this beautiful melting pot that is called humanity. And I celebrate every single one of you. You can see I'm a little euphoric. I wonder why I'm so euphoric. But Bruce Turkle is here on Monday. John Durham, the John Durham, he's going to hate me for posting a photo of the other John Durham. But John is on Tuesday. Cindy Gallup, the incredible Cindy Gallup, is here on Wednesday. John Lawson is here on Thursday. Wendi, John has a connection to Amazon too. And I owe John a lot, and I will explain what and why when he's on the show. And then finally, we've got like a bookend of thought leadership and futurist. Martin Lindstrom will be on the show. It's just going to be an awesome week next week. So hope you'll join me. Today is National Eat Your Beans Day. Heinz means beans. This podcast, this show, this call, as people call it, this webinar, this video streaming show is brought to you by Heinz, because Heinz means beans. And I'm not going to sing the song about baked beans and apple tart. That's juvenile. I'm not juvenile. That's maybe a different show, but not this show. What is part of the show is you. So again, thank you for being a part of this, period. Just thank you for being a part of it and spending time with me. I really love you guys, and I appreciate it. Obviously, I missed out on birthdays yesterday, so I wanted to wish my Facebook friends happy birthday for yesterday, and of course, today as well, and likewise with LinkedIn yesterday and today. Now, today's seated soliloquy is called Peace. And you might have been wondering why I didn't mention the reason that I was off yesterday. Well, those of you that are regulars to the show would know exactly why I was off. It was my son's bar mitzvah. And so I wrote this soliloquy to crystallize and capture some of my thoughts from yesterday. And I decided to call it Peace. So yesterday, I got to celebrate my youngest, Jack, who became a bar mitzvah. We had a small ceremony in our garden with a maximum of 10 men to make up a biblically mandated minyan. The day before was inclement and stormy, but the day of was dry and hot. Real hot. So hot, in fact, that the entire camera setup and camera itself, the computer setup and camera froze several times. We lost picture and sound intermittently, and we were able to rectify it. Also, our neighbors' lawns apparently had to get mowed at the exact moment when Jack was leading the service, and the air conditioning unit also felt the need to remind us how cool it was inside the house as opposed to outside the house where we were schwitzing. I didn't care. I didn't mind. I just dealt with it. I was at peace. In fact, the only other time in my life that I felt this at peace was the day that I got married. There was something so magnificent about the day and so inspiring about my son that it was impossible to feel anything but extreme calm, joy, and control over a litany of uncontrollable elements. Could I have anticipated the heat? Maybe. Or perhaps used an umbrella? Sure. Hindsight is 20/20, except of course in 2020. Instead of falling apart, we all stood strong and tall. We soaked up the moment as we soaked in the sun, as I soaked up my son. When the pandemic hit, many postponed or canceled their functions. This was, in a crazy way, one of the first times in 4 months that a bar mitzvah boy could read from a physical Torah in his own home, no less, with his entire family glued to the screen from as far afield as Australia, Israel, the United Kingdom, and South Africa. After 2 hours, there was no Zoom fatigue. We started to unmute people family by family to address the barmy boy. After 3 hours, we finally ended the function. There were still people on. And thank you, Zoom, a 6 gigabyte file downloaded successfully. So why would I have focused on anything that went wrong when so many wonderful things went right? It was, to coin a phrase, imperfectly perfect, or as my rabbi corrected me, authentically perfect. For a brief moment in time, there was no global pandemic, only a global love fest dedicated to my son. Mazel tov, Jack. I love you. Peace out, everybody. So those were my reflections about an amazing day that I will never forget, certainly for as long as I live. And what I wanted to do as well is share with you just a few photos. I think, before this pandemic hit, I didn't necessarily share too much publicly. I mean, I'm public, but not so much. And then I realized if I could post these photos on Facebook, which I did, I'm definitely going to share it with you guys on Corona TV because you have become my family. And there is so much intimacy in this connection, in this bond that we have, whether it's the show, whether it's the after show, that it really is an honor and a privilege to just share a few photos with you. This was at the start. It's just a bit of a screenshot, but we used it was just a virtual background to kind of indicate, hey, look, we're in Israel like we thought we'd be in front of the wall. I love this photo. To me, it just captures, that's my family. Someone sent this in. You can see them watching on their computer. But for me, this was the bar mitzvah that just happened to be on Zoom as opposed to the other way around. That's, again, a screenshot from Zoom of Jack in front of the Torah. And that's a photo as well. I don't know if you can see, but that's his teacher standing next to him and we even had JZJ branded face masks, but that's Jack actually reading from the Torah. And then finally, just a photo of father and son before, and that was my speech to him. We actually ended up going inside because the computer was overheating, and just, everybody's socially distanced, and I loved it. The idea of just seated, just talking to him one-on-one. So thank you for indulging me and for sharing in this moment, or for allowing me to share in it with you. But now it's time to focus our attention on my guest. Wendi Cooper is founder of C-Spot Run Productions, a concept-to-consumer agency for direct response since 1997. A self-made entrepreneur, a 2-time ovarian cancer survivor, and a 17-time Telly Award honoree, she's looking forward to releasing her first book titled, I love this, by the way, Why I Haven't Written a Book, sometime in the future. Wendi loves to share the wisdom of others on the Wendi Cooper Show podcast, and her creativity as host and producer, speaking of Age Daily with Wendi, a 5-minute reel, raw and refreshing look at life over 60. So without further ado, let me bring her onto the show. Wendi Cooper, welcome finally to Corona TV.
Thank you, Joe. I had to wipe the tears away. My goodness, I have 2 boys, and I'm like, oh, you just have my heart. That was beautiful.
Thank you. And it was just a magical moment. It was very surreal, and and I decided to capture the soliloquy with the word peace, because you have to be at peace. You have to make peace, whether it's a relative you've had a verribbel, a nice Yiddish word with, in the past. There's so many things going on in life, and I think if you can find peace, no matter how you find it, it's a good place to be.
Yeah, I just did a little short. So I do my 5-minute daily short, the Speaking of Age Daily with Wendi, and they're kind of like midlife little monologues. And yesterday I did it on Ikigai, right? Which is really part of it was finding your peace. And so when I saw that peace in the photograph and the bar mitzvah and the beautiful children that you have, are they beautiful? I mean, really.
Well,
they all came from your wife, obviously.
Well, I was just going to say, do I have to even say it? And clearly I didn't.
Sorry, Joe.
so when you have hijacked my life and you've hijacked my show.
Sorry.
Why don't you tell people? First of all, did you notice the background today? Let me go to it right here. Did you notice the background?
I was trying to figure out what the background is. Is that where is that? That's not here. That's not where I am, is it?
No, it's not. And if I gave you a clue, the clue would be where we met.
Oh my goodness, is that Valparaiso, Indiana?
That is.
Is it the restaurant?
It might be. If that's the first listing on Google, then yes, it is.
More than likely, I think there's probably only one restaurant in Valparaiso, Indiana. Yeah,
so,
that was funny. Do you remember that?
I didn't actually. I didn't, and sometimes I just say to my guests, I'm honest. I'm like, I know you now, but where did we meet? I can't remember. So why did you tell people the story of when we met?
So I was in Valparaiso, Indiana, at a company called LiveMercial, and LiveMercial. Anybody that's watching that was in DR knows LiveMercial was like the first company to put streaming little tiny box video up on the internet, and they thought it was so cool because it was like, look, you can put an infomercial now on the internet, but it's a little tiny box that had to do that whole thing. But anyway, I was there meeting with Johnny Mathis was the owner of the company, and we were having dinner, and we had all of these people there having dinner.
Not the Johnny Mathis.
No, the Johnny Mathis of Valparaiso, Indiana. And boy, was he a Johnny Mathis. This guy was swimming in money, right? His company grew like overnight. It was amazing. It's now defunct. But he had me at this dinner with a couple of other people, and up pulls this limousine. It was a rainy night. And it's just like behind you, Joe. That's exactly what the town is like. There's like 12 people in the whole town. And Johnny's going on about this guy, Joseph Jaffe, and I don't have any idea who you are. And you had just launched Join the Conversation. Is that your first book?
Second. First was Life After the 30-second spot.
Right. And it's raining and the limo pulls up, the stretch limo, and you get out and you're tired because it's late at night. We're half drunk. You can't wait to have a drink, I think. I don't know. This is how I remember it. And Susan and I were there. We all just, I didn't really talk to you about much. You said, oh, well, we're all staying at the same hotel because we were put up by Johnny, at the hotel. You stayed downstairs with the guys. And I went to bed. I had a guest there. I went to bed and Susan went to bed. And you guys just had a real fun time down in the lobby.
I'm wondering, do I need to mute you at this point? Where's the story going?
No,
bring it back, Wendy. Bring it back.
That was it. And then, I don't know, years later, I think I'm listening to the Beancast and you're on the Beancast. And I thought, that's that same guy I met at the dinner that night in Indiana, right? And that was that. And then we ended up being, on the Beancast together. You were on my show a long time ago. Do you remember you were on my show called Bob Norp named it, called The C-Spot. And it was marketing and advertising, and it was a live radio show on LA Talk Radio. And I had you on as a guest. And I think we had discussed that evening, that night, and you still now don't remember. I didn't leave an impression.
No. But one of the things I basically, I don't know if you know this, but Brad Pitt and I actually suffer from the same. We both suffer from the same disease, which is. You know what that is, right?
No.
Unbelievably good looks. I mean, come on. No, face blindness. It's real. It's
really?
real. Yeah, we're doing it. I mean, I don't know.
That's his excuse.
Well, I believe he does. I don't. But what has really happened in my life, and just to be very honest with you, is I've met so many people from my travels and from everything I've done. And I really, I don't know if this has been diagnosed, but I really like my memory isn't what I would want it to be. Now, I think, in some cases, I've looked at myself introspectively and said, am I arrogant? Am I arrogant that should I pay more attention? Should I remember everyone that I come into contact with? And I've tried to create techniques to remember people better, but I've met a lot more people than the other way around, and so sometimes I hate it. I don't like not remembering someone or where I met them, and sometimes I'm just honest. I'm like, I'm sorry.
You don't remember Johnny Mathis? I mean, you have to remember meeting a guy named Johnny Mathis.
No. In fact, Johnny and I have been in contact, believe it or not, about a month before the pandemic hit. We were connecting and talking about stuff. He's an innovator, so he's all I can probably say is he's innovating.
He is an innovator. Yes.
So I remember being on your show. I remember you. I just didn't remember where we met.
Yeah. Well, that's where we met.
But now talking about being on shows, you have a podcast and you basically banned me from being on your show.
I have a new podcast. License. I have a new podcast. Well, it's not new. It's the Wendi Cooper Show, conversations with remarkable people over 50. And Joe, you're not over 50.
I'm not remarkable?
No, you're not over 50. You are absolutely remarkable. You are so remarkable. It's remarkable.
But, at the end of this year, in fact, for my 50th birthday present, which will be at the end of the year, I want an appearance. I want to earn by having survived 50 years of life, an opportunity.
It gives me a good run up. You're giving me a good run up for your birthday show. I'm going to be talking about that now until that happens, right? I mean, it's a big deal for people once they turn, I had no idea, Joe, that this was happening out there, right? So I didn't set out to do a show about age. And my show really wasn't about age. It's about remarkable people over 50, because I'm 65 and I stopped doing my marketing live stream video. Now I'm really, can I say this? I'm full screen, but I am so talking to myself right now.
I'm here. The voice of God. The voice of God
myself.
will steer you. I will steer you home.
Anyway, so I stopped doing that show. I was doing it in Hollywood. It was video. It's on my YouTube channel. And I was frustrated, right? I wanted to do a podcast. Well, I wanted to do another show, but I was kind of over the marketing thing. And I wanted something more of substance. I was, and I was 62. And I just kind of felt like in this weird place. And I just thought it was me. And then I got a job at a visual effects house. So we work with Disney in Burbank. And I hated it. I hated that job. It was the only job I ever had, like a job, right? But I was paid nice money. So I drove to Burbank every day. And it was kind of cool. I learned different things and blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, I had like this hour-and-a-half drive every day to think about, what is it that I want to do? What kind of show do I want to do? Because it's a passion, not really anything else, but a passion. I don't make money doing it, right? And I kept hearing, embrace your age, share your wisdom. Embrace your age, share your wisdom. And I just heard this message coming from like God, right? And I thought, okay, that's it. But what does that mean? Well, have conversations with remarkable people over 50. So then I started to look at the generation of 55 to 65, because I don't consider myself a baby boomer. I hate that word. I don't feel like a baby boomer. I feel like I'm 40. I don't feel like I'm 65, right? And I started to learn about the longer lifespans of life and how it's affecting our society and how it's affecting jobs and being able to have jobs. And this is before COVID. So, the over 50 dilemma of getting kicked out at 35, 40, 50 out of a creative agency world has it, so it is a big problem. And so conversations kind of always kind of rolled around to, gosh, I turned a certain age and I just felt like life was caving in on me. And I started to realize, oh, this is not me feeling suffocated by uneasiness in my life. It's everyone that is turning a certain age is feeling this uneasiness. And I had somebody recently on my show, Barbara Waxman. She wrote a book and she calls it middle essence as opposed to adolescence. She calls it middle essence, this angst that happens once you get into this other section of life, that transition to that. So it's kind of interesting. It's interesting topics.
Middle essence. I've got to figure out how to spell that, but it'd be like, I don't know, something like, I don't know.
It is. It's the weirdest thing. I had to she said, just pronounce it middle essence. Don't look at the spelling because when you look at it.
Wendi, I have an interesting, let's see it. Oh, it really is a word.
Middle essence. She's coining it. She's making it. There's her credentials. Anyway, she's on she's on episode before last on the Wendi Cooper show.
I feel it would only be appropriate if you end up making an introduction between the two of us and she comes on my show as well.
Absolutely. Anybody you want me? You should look at everybody that I've interviewed on my show. It's all on my website. I have pictures of everybody and it's pretty cool conversations.
I will come spidering and scraping your guest list. But Wendi, here's an insight that I've kind of picked up, and it's not even so much as I've gotten older, but it's with respect to parenting, which is it's almost like my kids want me to play a role. The role of the dad joke role, the role of the, oh, dad, you don't get it, and it's almost like the kind of as if I was a character in a sitcom, and the bumbling, out of touch father, but I'm not that. I know I'm not that. I'm young at heart. I feel young. There's no. I wanted to create a TikTok every day of me dancing, but it's funny that this is a really, I think, a perfect parallel for getting old and what you're saying, which is it's not us that feel old. It's society telling us that we're old or getting older and we're not good enough. And the reality is it's complete bullshit.
That's right. That's right. That's right. There was a post on LinkedIn a couple of days ago, and there's a certain tribe, and I do talk about it. If you listen to my little 5-minute things that I do, which is also a flash briefing, those are like little midlife vignettes, right? So I get to be creative and produce these little vignettes every day that I have fun with, and sometimes they're funny. They're always like a little cold open, they're entertaining, and they're always in under 5 minutes. But there is a tribe, Joe, of people that only talk kind of about age and ageism and ageist. And, Chip Conley is one, and Chip is great, but he's got the Modern Elder Academy, Chip Conley, who did. And then there's David Stewart, what's his name, from Ageist, the Elite. There's Ashton Applewhite. There's all of this kind of tribe of people who are trying to bring awareness to the over 50 people who aren't really over, we are so looked at like we're obsolete after a certain age. And so why is there this defining character line that happens between once you turn a certain age? Why is it that all of a sudden we are considered something that we're not? Other generations didn't do that. We didn't, it didn't exist. This ageist attitude didn't exist, not until we started to be younger for our age, which is I say it's our responsibility in this being in this this age group or this cohort that is now living longer. So that creates this 20, 30 year, 60 is a new 40 mentality and feeling like you feel young, right? But it's our responsibility to be interact intergenerationally with the other generations younger than us that are really calling us, okay, boomer, you need to have a cardigan and gray hair and go play bingo on Thursday nights, because that's really what happens to you when you tip over a certain point. And it's not at all what happens to us, right? But how do we connect intergenerationally and solve this problem as opposed to complain about it all the time? And there's the tribe of complainers out there, follow them on LinkedIn. And then there's the people that bring solutions. I have a solution for all of the unemployed creatives out there. I'm just afraid to share it with anybody. I mean, it's a marketplace that I created that is so freaking genius, but I am afraid to share it with anybody because they just don't get it. Like, they're not creative enough to understand the solution to the problem. They just want to write books, do coaching, sell you stuff, and complain. So
it's funny. It's almost like this. There are certain perceived arrogances that come with age, but on the younger side, with seniority, which also parallels on the older side too, because typically the more senior you are, the more tenured you are, and therefore the older you are. That's just something that goes together as well. I don't necessarily see it with respect to older or mature individuals who aren't as senior. So it's an interesting correlation that either comes with not enough authority or too much authority. And maybe that's what we should be attacking and honing in on, that arrogance, the arrogance of too much experience or too little experience. But it has absolutely nothing to do with age. That's the reality.
That's right. That's right. I don't think it has, I just went on a rant the other day about how people are always saying you have to reinvent yourself. Hear that? Do you hear that word? Like everywhere you go? Well, and now with the coronavirus, people that are younger have to reinvent themselves. I can't tell you the solution, David. I would have to kill you if I told you the solution.
I'll take his name off.
No, but actually I do have the solution. It has to go to a VC and all of that stuff because it's a marketplace.
Hey, David, come to the Zoom after show and see if you can, and network a little bit with Wendi.
Yeah.
Sorry, Wendi, that was just between David and I.
I do have the concept website done, and I've had it for a year now. But what were we talking about, Joe? Sorry.
Here's what we were talking about. What we're talking about is I've got one other theory. I don't remember what we were talking about. But I actually think that one of this interesting changes that's happened, maybe adolescence in a way, I think technology has played a role, because I think, just when we talk about how technology has leveled the playing fields, I think technology has surely allowed us to compete, us as in older, to compete with younger. And the idea of democratizing collaboration, connection, creativity, that is not about age, and technology. I think this is one of the interesting byproducts, even with respect to social media. You're following someone on Twitter or connecting with them on Instagram. There's no age gate that says, no, you're too young. You go over to TikTok, or you're too old, go over to, I don't know, wherever. Where would someone,
I think that what's happened, what I always like to say is like we started the show off with where we met, like and Johnny sent to me, because I met Johnny Mathis because he was selling balloons popping out of a box. Johnny will tell you who I was and how I met and how he like walked in my wake. Right. And and then when he came up with his streaming little video in 1999 that you could send over the internet, you can watch an infomercial on the internet now. And he sent it to me. Check it out, Wendi. Took me 45 minutes to download, but I could see it. Right. The thing is that we are your technology, youngsters. Right. When people, if you don't use computers as a job, let's say, Joe, then you maybe are less savvy. I've used computers as part of my life for most of my life, ever since 1998, 97, whatever, right? And my entire career in direct response blossomed because of my forethought, my innovation, my how do we use, like Johnny Mathis, how do we put something online? How do we do it digitally? So we've, transactions on a website, gosh, come on. I've been there through all of those different changes in technology, right? And to be looked at by a digital marketing company, to look at me and go, and I just assume that I don't know anything. I know it, but I also know where it came from and the genesis of it and why we do what we do and why quantifying advertising and performance media and all of stuff exists and where it came from.
I'm still ruminating in this very profound statement of yours. We are your technology, youngsters. Maybe we take the word youngsters out, but this idea, if I'm reading you correctly, of saying, we, the experienced, I call them the silver-haired individuals. We are your technology. That is a beautiful, beautiful statement. I love that. Love it, love it, love it.
Yes. Thank you, Joe. Is that your next book?
Yeah. The Forward by Wendi Cooper. So Wendi, because you watch the show, you know that every now and then I come up with a quote, and my guest has to. It's very esoteric, it's very obscure, and I think only one guest has ever correctly identified who said this. Okay. So do you know who said this? Everything I know I taught myself, and I continue to do so at 65.
I said that.
Damn you! Yes, I know you did. I mean, I love this because it speaks to a couple things, right? It speaks to this idea of being self-starter, self-taught, blazing a trail, but this idea of continued learning. You never stop learning, and so I just thought that was the perfect quote to encapsulate what we're discussing.
Thank you. It's and that's part of the problem that's really out there culturally right now, is everyone is being told, well, keep your skills updated, right? Continue to learn, keep your skills updated, because they assume, and maybe I assume that people do keep their skills updated because somebody called me a seeker the other day. And it's like, yeah, I design my own website. I am so happy I don't have to work with a graphic artist anymore to take my creativity from my brain and put it into his brain and then put it onto a canvas that then we have to juxtapose and move around and test out different fonts and spend hours together and cost a lot of money. The being able to learn the skills to do video editing, which of course, if I was going to do a big project and I really was going to do it for TV or whatever, I would rely on my editors to do that because, but to do music design and everything that you can do now and not even leaving your home, but you can create this beautiful content. For me as a creator, I'm in heaven learning new things all the time. And I'm 65 and I'm a woman and I have blonde hair and I'm white. So I'm very privileged.
Well, and you also, Leslie, by the way, says, never stop learning. I'll make that my motto. But I'll tell you something else about you. You're angry. You're an angry person.
I am?
And yes, because we were on a podcast on Sunday night. This is my segue, right? We were on a podcast on Sunday night, and I gave my standard, stump speech, which is, whoa, you could just be like Jeff Bezos, who cut his television spending to zero and moved it into free shipping and Prime, and the rest is history. And someone jumps out from the shadows and bites my head off. Someone I thought was a friend, and somehow invited herself onto the show, or maybe I said, you know what, you should come onto the show. But in all seriousness, I would love for you to talk about this connection. And I almost said, I said, what did we discuss at PTSD with Amazon? You had a bad breakup with, or it's not even a breakup. It's a boomerang kind of love-hate relationship.
Yes. So just to back up for 1 second, for those people that don't know, you can go to my website. You can see my background is all in direct response. And so my whole 20-something years in this world has been in direct response to DRTV, infomercials, being a host, being on live television, bringing products to market, working with major companies to bring their products to market. So that's my background, right? And we used to be very, very successful in selling products through television, driving them either to a website. Yes, Joe, I was the first person to take an 800 number out of a commercial. You should have seen what the telemarketing centers did when I said, can't we just drive people to a URL and not use an 800 number? And anyway.
You did a lot of things. I mean, you set some records with respect to whether it's GoPros that was sold. You were, there was a hugely successful campaign in 1994 on the Howard Stern show. Yes. Maybe what we'll do is we'll discuss some of these stories in the Zoom after show.
Oh, that could be a good idea. So to cut to the chase about Amazon.
I want to know what Amazon ever did to you, Wendi.
Okay, so what Amazon did to me was Amazon never really did anything to me until 2015. And this is where you get back to your shipping thing. So I'm a brand seller on Amazon. I'm not going to say what the brand is, but I think it's a little obvious. But you have to be careful because as a brand seller, you are not supposed to say certain things. So I'm not saying who I am. Anyway,
we have no idea.
We'll
just use our intuition.
Right. So in 2014, I launched the product on Amazon, and it went through the roof because it was launched right around the same time as a competitive product, which I also had worked on in the past. And so we saw huge sales on Amazon. Okay, and I come from the digestive health category as an expert in doing direct response products. So this was a natural thing for me to do. We manufacture here in the US. I did everything the right way, right? And I launched it on Amazon. Shipping was always a concern for us because it's a lightweight, large item. So it has to ship in an 18 by 10 by 10 box. And I can ship 3 in that box, which DR people watching understand what that means. But when my items go to FBA, I have to ship inventory to Amazon, right? In order to be Prime, in order for people to get free shipping. So you can order, now we're in 2014, you can order from my website, which I can drive people to my website and order from my website. And I can still afford to sell the product at $22 and maybe give free shipping for 2 in 1 box. If you order 2, I'll give you free shipping, because my shipping cost was at about $5.87 to Zone 8. Okay. That's me as a DR consumer product. It's also on Amazon, and on Amazon, it's selling a lot more, but people are getting free shipping, but Amazon is also taking like 68%. I would say they take about 68%, right? Amazon comes along and says, "Ooh, look at what's going on. This is really cool." And they come to me and Amazon and they say, "We want you to be in our exclusives program." Now, Amazon Exclusives was something they did. They invited me to the Entrepreneurial Women's Summit in Seattle. And at that summit, they asked me to be exclusive to Amazon in Amazon's exclusives. And they were going to do all of this stuff for my growing brand. Okay, which only has 1 SKU, by the way, sold $2 million worth of products. And it's just like really 1 SKU with 4 color variations. And so I said, yes, yeah, I'm going to do that. And it was probably the worst thing I could have ever done. So they needed me to remove my product from anywhere else. The catalogs I was in, all of the legacy that I had, right? Home Depot, Walmart.com, everywhere. And wow. Because we're going to do this for you. So I did it, Joe. I did it. And I bought back product from my catalogers as a small business. That's what I did. And then Amazon didn't really live up to what they said they were going to do. I don't even think the exclusives program lasted more than a couple of years. The exclusives program also threw my SKUs into this weird vortex of the Amazon system that doesn't understand what to do with something once they're done with it. And so your ASIN, what they call an ASIN or a SKU, right, is always getting mixed up in the vendor side of Amazon as opposed to the seller side of Amazon. And so third-party seller. So what does that mean? So exclusive program is gone. I am out of all of my other retailers, right? And meanwhile, at the same time, we're now into 2015. In 2015, UPS says, December of 2015, UPS says, we are no longer going to put up with Amazon putting little tiny items in big giant boxes and shipping them out to people, right? It's taking up space in our trucks. We have to increase our deliveries, and consumers are complaining, right? It's happened to you, I'm sure. Probably still does happen. So the carriers say, we know we're going to punish Amazon, and we're going to, because now at this time, UPS is really pretty much their primary delivery service to the home, right? They don't have their trucks yet. They don't have their any of that. What that did was it took my product that shipped at $5.87 to Zone 8, me as a consumer good small business, to $11.90. Okay, so now I can no longer afford to ship. Now that was back then, it's even more now. And that's at big bulk fulfillment house rates. That's not, me as the consumer going and shipping.
This is before Prime, right?
No, so that's Prime. So there's always been Prime. Okay, Prime delivery, right? Okay, the Prime delivery was getting to be so much, but so lazy at FBA fulfillment centers to where they were just taking big boxes and putting nothing in them, right? Multiple shipments to the same household, filling up the UPS. So now it goes from dimensional weight. So my 18 by 10 by 10 box went from $5.87 to $11 and something, more than doubled in my cost of shipping. And so that made me as a D2C business not able to ship directly to the consumer from my website, because I would have to charge too much money for pick, pack, box, fulfill, ship, and inventory, right?
Yeah.
So I
mean, by the way, this is fascinating for me, because I've never been on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
I've never entered, the dystopian sausage factory that is, you know, Amazon. All I've seen is a beautiful commercial with smiles and people whistling while they work, and just seeing these boxes that are so happy to be shipped to
Oh,
people.
yeah, I know. And kids that love getting them and employees that love working there.
But-
Anyway, so let me
Yes.
let me go down the road. Okay, so people can keep focused. Okay, so I, as a small brand, have no choice but to ship my product now into FBA warehouse and sell it on Amazon because I can't afford to ship. I can't afford the box. I can't afford it with the fulfillment and everything else. I can't afford it. So, okay. So I still have it available on my website. Anybody will tell you that the Amazon effect has been that people don't shop on product-centric websites. They go there to check it out. They go there to see the culture of the company and the brand. They do that. And then they go, well, let me go over to Amazon and see if I can get it on Amazon because I can get free shipping, Joe Jaffe, right? Free shipping, right? So that's from a consultant or a marketer's viewpoint, not a product owner. I have to look at it from where are the eyeballs, where are people shopping, the practical sense, and they have to be, and you have to be on Amazon, right? And all of my energy is put into Amazon because I simply cannot afford to sell directly to the consumer because of the shipping rates. Now, Amazon has all their delivery trucks. UPS is UPS. United States Post Office does last mile. There's all of these things that have happened since, but I went to ship my son a toilet stool in an 18 by 10 box into Florida from LA, just me as a consumer. It was $43 the other day, ground United States Post Office, no tracking.
Wow. Insane.
Okay. So my point sometimes is we have to stop feeding the beast. You have to stop thinking that your $129 a month for Prime makes sense, you know, because really what you're doing is it's increasing the cost of anything you want to ship as a consumer anywhere else outside of the Amazon ecosystem, right? So that forces you as a consumer, silently forces you to always ship on Amazon. I always shop on Amazon, you know, so it's kind of our own fault that we're falling down the Amazon rabbit hole. You really can't complain about it because we're lazy, we're fat, we're happy. We want to buy 5 things a day on Amazon when you really could just consolidate and ask them to put it into one shipment. You know, the carbon footprint of Amazon is becoming outrageous, and they're really addressing that in Seattle.
So Wendi, but let me give you 2 scenarios. Scenario 1, you know, for Jack's birthday, we bought him a series of board games on Amazon so that he could take it with to camp. We bought him chess, backgammon, Clue, and one other board game. They don't all arrive in the same box. They might arrive in 3 or 4 or 5 boxes. So you know, that's on them. Or is it on us as the consumer to say, should we have a box that says, I want all my stuff in one box? Thank you very much.
I think they're offering that. So that's a fulfillment issue. And I think they're offering that now. I'm not sure, but they should. But here's why they send it to you in different boxes. Because
it's coming from different fulfillment centers and different merchants.
Well, right. So if you're buying Prime, typically it's coming from their fulfillment center, but they have a million distribution centers. So they're coming from all around. The other thing, everyone, is that Amazon, oh God, I'm going to get killed for telling you this, but as a brand seller, I have brand registry. So nobody else sells my brand on Amazon but me, right? I have that protection. But I am billed back as a seller for everything you buy. So if you go on and you buy my product on Amazon, they are going to bill me back. You think you're getting free shipping and Amazon's the good guy and Jeff Bezos, you are awesome, right? But they're billing me for that shipping. I have to pay the shipping for your item. So that brought up to me, the question is, well, when I buy 3 things and it comes from 3 different FBA warehouses or 3 different company sellers, it's not an Amazon brand or a vendor, right? Are they billing back that company for the shipping also? And then are they, which I'm sure they are, because that's the fee that you pay. That's how your your seller's fees are calculated as there's a fee on the price that you're selling it. And then there is the shipping fee that you're billed back. And now there's a tax fee that they charge you because now they have to they have to pay the sales tax for you, but they give you a fee for that. They bill us as a seller a fee for that. So our fees increased, and that's fine. And then also as a seller, we have to make sure that we bid on sponsored key terms on Amazon, just like Google key terms, right? Google search. As a seller, you always should be on top of bidding on your sponsored key terms on Amazon. So that's their Amazon marketing. And the question really is, and this is a question that Congress is probably going to ask Jeff Bezos, is if someone is selling on your platform, like I am as a brand seller, I have brand registry, I'm the only one selling it. Not even Amazon can sell my product on Amazon. Then I go into, I bid on certain key terms in order to rank in their sponsors, right? When you see sponsored, right? Mm-hmm. But yet the algorithm is controlled by Amazon, and thus the CPC bid must be controlled by Amazon also. Wouldn't it be? Who else is controlling that? Right? So how do I know that if I bid 89 cents, that's the real bid? Or are they just telling me, hey, it's between $1.40 and 89 cents per click for this keyword? That's what you can expect to pay, because they do give that to you.
And then when you said, there's this idea that why you shouldn't bid on Google search terms if your product is listed on Amazon. So now that's like zooming out one more layer, and you're saying that you shouldn't. Why shouldn't you do that?
Well, number one, you shouldn't do that because, like, my product has a trademark term. I'm going to rank regardless if somebody goes to my product. If somebody wants to find my product online and they Google it, which they're not usually going to do, a product search takes place on Amazon. Product searches. Angelina, the color of Angelina Jolie's eyes, that takes place on Google these days. You know that. Amazon is the search engine, okay, for products. But if they do go on Amazon, who's going to be ranking that trademark term first? It's Amazon. Amazon's going to come up and say, they pay for that ad, right? It says, get your Wendy's product here. And it's Amazon. And then I'm going to be down here, even as a trademark term where I have automatic organic listing. If I was bidding on search terms, so is Amazon. Amazon's bidding on those search terms also for my product. They are. That's one thing that they do, and it's a great thing that they do. But don't bid against yourself. Don't bid against the guy that's got more money than God. He's always going to win the top bid, right? So don't let him. Just let him. Just don't. Why put your money? Don't put your money there.
I mean, I find this so fascinating because, you've probably heard me tell the story. I was on a flight to South by Southwest, the festival last year. Sitting in front of me was Elizabeth Warren, who at the time had been talking about breaking up the large tech companies in particular. And every tech person, including myself, would be like, that's bad. That's a bad thing. Like, stay away from our beautiful Silicon Valley, etc. And when she started actually explaining her rationale, using Amazon as the example, showing how Amazon is basically just looking at all these data logs, seeing which merchants are doing well and better, and then basically putting them out of business, or at least being able to adjust their own white label version or search terms, etc. I was like, I think I agree with you. And it just seems like the reality is, it's why Jeff Bezos said, one day we will fail, one day we will go bankrupt. Your job is to delay this for as long as possible, because companies cannot at a certain point just get too big. It's just not possible. They have to be regulated, or how does it end?
So the weird thing is that I have to love them on one hand, right? And on the other hand, I really think it's disgusting. And it's so. I get irritated with the consumer. Like, that's why I flew off the handle on the Beancast at you when you said that about taking the advertising dollars away. It's like Amazon hasn't advertised very much. I shipped stupid VHSs to freaking Bezos at his desk in Seattle, I'm sure, because I was shipping my client stuff to Amazon in 1998, right? So it's like, how do we allow one person's vision of world domination into every nook and cranny of our life, into our environment, what's happening to our environment? And me, if you haven't listened to Land of the Giants podcast, you must. Last season's was all about Amazon and the fear of people like me as a seller, because you know what? If Amazon said to me tomorrow, you're out of here, they can, and my whole business would be gone. It would be gone, because all of my business takes place on Amazon, and I love them for that. But I hate them at the same time, because there's no reason for me to be on Walmart.com with my Shopify site. That is the stupidest thing I ever heard. And even, for people to think that Shopify is going to save Walmart and vice versa. No, it's not. Amazon is always going to be the dominating player. Always. Okay. You don't see Walmart trucks going up and down the street 5 times a day. You see Amazon, right? So there's, I think as a brand seller, I have anger towards Amazon, because it goes very, very deep. It goes into the fact that they can't stack my product in their warehouse. They have to charge me per item because it goes into a little yellow bin, and yet my items stack and nest together, right? They were designed that way. I have to spend money in advertising or else I don't rank. They say that that's not true. It's so true. If you aren't spending money in their sponsored key terms, yeah, most people don't know how to look at that data, and they see their ACOS, which is kind of their MER, media efficiency ratio, dollars spent to sales. They really don't know how to figure that out properly into their profitability, their ROI, right? And Amazon kind of puts up this like screen of, whoa, look what you did. You spent this much money and you got this much sales. But well, how much sales did I get without spending that much money? They don't tell you that, which is usually more or just as much as if you got by spending that money. Warehouse fees, Joe, you have to pay to have your product in their warehouse. It's not free for us to ship our inventory to Amazon. And during Christmas time, when it's mandatory to have your product there in advance, they charge you more. And sometimes in the past, they've charged you triple.
It's funny to me. And by the way, what a perfect question from Leslie. And what happens if Trump lets the USPS fail? I'm not going to let you answer that now. I think let's take that over to the Zoom after show. But for me, this is such a fascinating, and thank you for sharing this with us, because it's a conversation that helps us understand, and I don't even want to say the little guy, in air quotes, because $2 million is, it's probably little to them, but it's substantial. Congratulations. That's amazing what you've done. But I think when we think about, we look at Google, we look at Facebook, we look at all these success stories. The reality is these companies have not grown because of Procter & Gamble and McDonald's and General Motors. They've grown, and they've been built on the backs of small businesses and
That's
entrepreneurs,
right.
and mom and pops. And so thank you for sharing that. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to continue the conversation next door, but I want to give you an opportunity to tell people again. You are fascinating, Wendi. Thank you for biting my head off. Do it anytime you want. Again, it's been a real privilege to hear your story, but tell people how they can find you, tell them about your podcast, and then we'll continue the conversation.
So oddly enough, the funny thing is that you can find my podcast, The Wendi Cooper Show, Wendi Cooper Show, Conversations with Remarkable People, is everywhere on every podcast platform. So you can find it there, or you can go to my website, wendicooper.com. I have all my podcasts there also. I also do, ironically enough, a mini podcast, which is also a flash briefing on Amazon Alexa skills. That's a daily 5-minute mini little thing that I like to create, and it's really fun. It's humorous. I just talk about stuff, and I would just love everybody to listen. But if you are curious about any of the services that I offer, just go to my website. Everything is at wendicooper.com and cspotrun.com, but it's all in one place. So I'd love to talk to anyone that wants to talk to me, like Joe.
I always, I want to talk to you too. Well, Wendi, thank you so much. We will spend a little bit more time together. But otherwise, to everyone out there, thank you for all your warm wishes. And I'll be back on Monday. So have a great weekend, July 4th weekend. Be safe, be responsible, and see you on the flip side. Bye, everyone.